Hi, and welcome back to this Monday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk, American Family Radio Talk Network. I am Brian Fisher, your congenial, convivial, and amiable, as always, host. Mentioned at the end of the last segment that there's a brand new movie that'll premiere nationwide this Friday night, March 21st, God's Not Dead. We're encouraging you here at AFR to see this movie, see it with your family, see it with your Sunday school class, take people from your church, take your neighbors. It's family friendly. It's packed with a lot of truth. Think you will be rewarded for spending your time there at the theater. And I've got two special guests on our decision maker line, Kevin Sorbo, who is the star of this movie, and then David A.R. White, who is the producer of the movie and plays a role in the movie. Gentlemen, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Thanks for having us. Good to be here.
All right, Kevin, let me begin with you as the star of this film, and tell us a little bit about what this movie is about. People go to this movie on Friday night. It premieres nationwide this Friday. Tell us what people can expect to find. People know you from playing Hercules. That's what they're going to remember you from primarily. You play a different kind of role in this movie. Tell us about the role that you play, what the movie is about, and then I'd like to kind of probe you a little bit about what drew you to this role and to this movie. So tell us what the movie's about.
I play a college professor of philosophy, and my mantra is every day, the first day of the new freshman class, I tell them that I'm not going to waste time going over the chapters in the book dealing with the existence of God, because I'm an atheist. And I get challenged by one of the students in the class who is not an atheist. He's brave enough to stand up and says he wants to basically challenge me to prove the existence of God. And hilarity ensues.
Now, as an actor, Kevin, talking here with Kevin Sorbo, who's star of the new movie God's Not Dead, you know, as an actor, you have choices to make. Different scripts are presented before you. Different opportunities show up, and you've stayed active in your career. What led you to make a choice to take on this role and help make this movie happen?
Well, I've worked with the company before, PureFlix, and I've done some really wonderful movies with them, and they sent me the script, and I usually give scripts 20 pages, and if I don't like it after 20 pages, I throw it down. I couldn't put the script on. I loved it, and that's really what brought me into it. I mean, I'm a Christian, but as an actor, I think you like to try on different hats, and this is certainly a different hat for me to try on. I took it upon it as a challenge, and it was. I think it's got a huge message in there. Obviously, I think this movie is going to create a lot of controversy. It's going to create a lot of conversations amongst not only Christians, agnostics and atheists alike, and there'll certainly be a kickback. There'll be people screaming for how ridiculous it is. And what's interesting is that in the movie you're going to see a ton of court cases that actually deal with exactly what this movie talks about.
You know, it's interesting. Right now we've got a court case. Mike Adams, who's a columnist for townhall.com, he's actually suing University of North Carolina for discriminating against him because he expressed politically incorrect points of view in columns that he wrote. So campuses all over America are kind of a hotbed of this kind of discussion about the role of religion, marketplace of ideas, what's permitted in the classroom, censorship of speech and all that. You know, particularly, Kevin, I'm thinking about parents right now that may be listening to this program. They've got students in high school, or maybe they've got somebody that they've already shipped off to college, and it would seem to me that if you've got a student in the pipeline heading off to college, that this might be a movie you want to see, and it might be a movie you want to make sure that your college-bound son or daughter sees.
Well, I would hope that any high school student, any student of any grade level, brings back to their parents what's going on in their campuses or the high schools or junior highs. I think there's got to be an open dialogue that explains exactly what teachers are teaching instead of preaching. So their job isn't to preach; it's to make these kids learn about whatever subject they're taking on. So if it's a class on atheism, I guess, then that's what it's going to be a class on. But teachers need to stay away from that. Professors need to stay away from that. But they're not. They're throwing their political and their religious or non-religious views on their students, and that's not their job. That's not what they need to be doing.
Well, I wonder, one other question I want to ask, talking here with Kevin Sorbo, star of the new movie God's Not Dead. I want to pitch a question here to David White, who is the producer of this movie, plays a role in it in just a second. But I have kind of one more question for you, Kevin. You know, we know that what people see on the screen, what people witness in media, what they see, it affects their decisions. It affects the way they think about life. That's why people advertise on television. That's why when you go to the movies, we just went to the movies on Friday, and you sit there and they will scroll one advertisement after another for you if you get there early, because they know that what you see on the big screen influences the way you think. It influences decisions that you make. And I'm just wondering about, a lot of college freshmen go off and they get into a freshman class and their values are challenged almost from Jump Street. First lecture of the day, their values are challenged. And a lot of them just remain silent because they don't know how to respond. They don't know what to do. They don't quite have the courage to go ahead and speak up when they're not sure they're going to be able to stand up against the onslaught. And I'm wondering, Kevin, if a movie like this might encourage a lot of college freshmen or sophomores or whatever to just take a deep breath and have the courage to stick up for their convictions on the college campus.
Well, I'm hoping it does, because what happens with college freshmen, they're very impressionable. You're scared to death. It's your first time you've really been away from home. So obviously you are impressionable, and you're nervous and you're scared, and all of a sudden you've got a teacher that's just bombarding you with how they should be and how they should live their lives. So as I said earlier, I'm hoping that parents have a lot of dialogue with their children before they go off to school and say, hey, let's keep an open, honest communication between us, and please let us know what's going on in your college campus. Because it is, that is a time for the growth and independence and whatever else of anybody that's going off to be away from home. And I think that's the positive thing in going to college. But, the negative part is what's going on campuses, because trust me, it is going on. I hear about it all the time. My nieces and nephews have told me the horror stories that have gone on their campuses. I knew about it at my university, but I didn't have any teachers that did that to me. So I was very fortunate during my college years.
I want to bring David A.R. White in. David is there with Kevin. And David, welcome to the program. And David, you play a role of a pastor in this movie. You are also the producer of this movie, God's Not Dead. It premieres this Friday in theaters all across the country. You are the founder of an organization, an outfit, a business called Pure Flix Entertainment. Kevin mentioned he's done some projects with you before. But let me ask you, as the producer, you've been in the entertainment industry in Hollywood for over 15 years. You grew up as the son of a Mennonite preacher. I can identify with that. I've got some Mennonite heritage in my own past. But tell me, David, as the conception of this movie, what kind of brought this idea to your mind to want to film this kind of a project? Why did you do this particular theme with this particular plot line?
Well, there's several reasons. As Kevin stated earlier, there's so many court cases about this kind of discrimination that has happened ongoing. In fact, there was almost 2 weeks ago, there was something in Florida where this professor had told all of his students to write the name of Jesus on a piece of paper and then put it on the ground and stand on it. And that was just recently, like about 2 weeks ago in Florida. So this kind of stuff is happening on an ongoing basis. And PureFlix as a movie ministry, we partner with a lot of pastors across the United States, and we reached out to them, asking them what they felt like was needed and what would they like to see us do. And basically they said they'd love to see a movie about apologetics, about asking people what is it that they believe. That a lot of Christians, they don't know what they believe. They don't know how to defend their faith. That verse that it says, always being ready to make defense to anyone who asks you to give an account for that hope that is in you. And that's what this movie does, and on a pretty, on a grand scale, and that's our hope, that when people walk out of it, that they'll have a greater understanding of what it is that they truly believe.
I read an analysis of movies not too long ago that indicated that going to movies actually will shift a person's political perspective, and one of the reasons is people, when they go to the movies, they sort of check their analytical brain at the door. They just want to be entertained. They want to enjoy what's on the screen. And if that movie's got a message, if it's got a subtle or even overt political message, because they're sort of off guard, they're caught off guard a little bit, it will actually move them. They'll test where they're at on a political issue before they see a movie. They'll see a movie that's got a political message, and afterwards they test them and they find out that there actually has been a shift. Maybe it's temporary, but it does have an impact on people's worldview. And of course, what they were looking at were movies that primarily would shift the viewpoint, the worldview of people, kind of from the right to the left or from the center to the left. Sounds like this might be a movie that might engage people's analytical faculties and move them in the direction of the truth.
Yeah, I mean, that's our hope. It's the movie experience is an incredible experience. When you go into a movie theater and the lights go down, you allow yourself to be taken to places where you wouldn't even allow your best friend to be taken. I mean, it's an incredible thing that, our guards drop. And it's ultimately, we want to use this powerful medium of film to reach into people's lives and ultimately encourage them, to inspire them, and hopefully to plant seeds to have a relationship with Jesus Christ.
David, or Kevin, let's go back to Kevin Sorbo just for the last question here. Kevin, just want to give you an opportunity here in the last minute or so. If you're talking, just imagine you're talking to people, a lot of them in our listening audience that are trying to make a decision right now. Do I go see this movie on Friday night or not? Do I take my family? Do I share this with my friends? Just speak to them, Kevin. Obviously, you like people to come and see your movies, but there's a bigger reason for people to go attend this movie. What would you say to people that are making up their mind about whether to go Friday night? It premieres Friday night. God's Not Dead. This Friday night premieres all over the nation. What would you say to people who are making up their mind about whether to go or not?
Tell them to get popcorn without butter. I want the choir to go. Like I've said before, I said, I don't want to preach to the choir, because if you already believe in God, then you believe in God. But I get a lot of people complaining about there's not enough movies out there for families, not enough movies that people can watch to see a good story that's well directed, well acted, well produced, well everything, and it's got a good story to go along with it and good values. Well, then people that are looking for those things have to support these kind of films, because trust me, Hollywood will make many, many more of them if they're successful, because it is called show business. So I want this movie really to touch those fence sitters, those agnostics out there that don't know for sure and are thinking about it. And I'd love atheists to go, and I'm sure they'll go to whatever have their time watching it and making fun of it. But we want people of all faiths and non-faiths to go check this out. I mean, it's going to create conversation. It really will, and it's going to create conversation with parents and their children as well. And I think that's the key to this. I mean, it's great to get educated when you go to movies. It's great to hopefully not always turn off your brain. We all want to be entertained, but I think this is a movie that has a wonderful story to tell, and you're getting both sides of the issue here, which I think is interesting, because it's a clash between non-believers and believers.
Our guest, actor Kevin Sorbo, star of the new movie God's Not Dead, along with producer David A.R. White. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us.